The next section we're going to look at in our Lookups training module is what we call a LargeTableVLookup. And if you have a look at the data on the sheet called LargeTableVLookup in your workbook Lookups, let's have a look at how the data is structured. So in column B we have our salaries, column C we have the number of dependents, and column D we need to calculate the tax rate based on the reference table from columns G onwards. In order to do this, we need to keep into consideration that there are two criteria here at stake, not just looking up the salary, but also looking at the number of dependents. So instead of trying to do multiple if functions or sum functions or trying to do a choose command, we're going to try and do a VLOOKUP, which we call an advanced large table VLOOKUP. And how we start is you start your lookup, and the first thing you're going to do is look up your salary value. You're going to use this particular table to look in, keeping in mind you need to push F4 to lock the table. And the problem comes in to your column numbers, because if the person has one dependent, then we would obviously have to select a particular column based on that VLOOKUP. So in this case it would be column 3. But if the person has two dependents, that's not going to work. So what we're going to do, because there are two columns in the beginning of the table that are not related to the dependents, it's salary and the percentage, we're just going to add 2 to the dependent value. Now, because our formula is now in this column, we cannot click on this particular cell, so we'll type C4, and then we will just add 2 additional columns. In terms of the range lookup, we want an approximate match because it's looking up the salary. So let's have a look and see if our formula worked. A salary of 76,000, which would fall into this bracket over here, is at 25%, but he has 5 dependents. We'll go across. It should be a value of 8%. We can actually change our column here to give us decimals so that they match the same as our reference table. So you can either right click, go to Format Cells, or in your number box on your Home tab, you can click on the little arrow to update your number format. So this is a percentage format, and we're going to change decimal places to 2 so that the dependent rate matches that of the reference table. Let's have a look at another example to make sure it worked. Let's look at someone with one dependent. 47,372 with one dependent should be 10.4%. And if we go over here, this will fit into this bracket, one dependent, 10.4%. So rather trying to complicate the formula with nested if functions or potentially choose functions, we can just add an additional 2 columns to our VLOOKUP so that it'll always relate back to the correct dependent tax rate.